How did you get into the lawn business?
So we're in the artificial grass business and a little bit of landscaping. And so I came from a natural turf and landscaping business for about 12 years. I think I was there, off and on with a little bit of travel in between and growing up from a boy to a man. And I just got to the stage where we were doing a little bit of the artificial turf through previous business. And it was like, okay. And we did that for a few years, and it was one of those things where it was no one was going to go for it. You know, it just wasn't right, and it was just against our Kiwi, 100%, green Kiwi entity that we had. And then I just saw a shift over a couple of years. It slightly got better, and then I just started doing a bit of research, and I spent a good couple of years kind of just working on it with the owner of the business of how could we do this together, or how could I come in and be a player, and we just couldn't quite get there. And one day I just came home to Hayley and I just said, got to do this. I love it. I live and breathe it. I just think we can do this so much better. I'm watching the rest of the world and they're doing some pretty cool things that no one's even seen here. She was a bit upset because she was pregnant with our second at the time. So she ran off to the bedroom crying. She probably won't want me to say that, but hey, look, imagine getting slapped in the face with that, going from a pretty comfortable job. We've got one child and we've got another one on the way. And then, Dad comes home and says, I'm going to throw it all away and risk it on some plastic grass, So, it was a pretty unnervy time. But our conversations that we had with this, it's really cool to look back and go, that idea, how we got there, had to move away from the business a lot sooner than what I had sort of anticipated because I was so excited about what we were doing and, didn't want to get myself in trouble and talking to people about things when I shouldn't be. So, we just kept it quiet. I moved away and did a little bit of landscaping and did our research. And our big thing was I sat at the kitchen table with Hayley and said, artificial grass, everyone assumes astro, really short, curly, abrasive, bright green stuff, And when I was talking to people through our industry, it was like, what are these red flags that people don't like? So bright green, it looks shiny and horrible. It gets hot. It's plastic. Is it safe for kids and dogs? It smells with dogs. So we literally just wrote those big 5 main key points down and thought, these are the things we need to have answers for. And we did. We found answers for them, and we implemented it into our range of landscape turf. And we sold our house. We moved into our in-laws rental, and every dollar we had, we invested into the business.
You went all in.
We went all in, yeah. And actually, just now, I can feel goosebumps coming because I look back and we've got amazing support and family and friends that knew we could do it. But like I said to you, I probably wasn't 100% convinced that I could do it at the beginning, but I knew I had to give it a shot. And it was one of those times where there was a couple of companies doing it, and they were getting a bit of traction. So it was, my sales pitch to Hayley was, if we don't do it now, I'll never have the chance to do it, because if someone else comes in now with a bigger budget than us, we'll just get swallowed, So she agreed, and we took our time and we found the right people to work with. And I look back now and I just go, who let me do that? Young family, all of our money into a small rental. But Hayley could see, I'll talk to her the whole way through because she's so important in this business and my life and my family. And there's no way that we would be where we are today without her. And her empathetic side of her persona. So, it was her. She had to agree to it.
It's a really good point, isn't it? Without that, or if she was skeptical, if she was negative on it, what a battle. And likely you would have either had conflict within the relationship or the business wouldn't have happened. Yeah,
and that would have been really tough if she didn't back me, because I would have still had that burning thing inside me going, I need to do it. And I think she probably saw that. I think she probably thought, well, if we don't do this, we're never going to be able to do it. And how do we get ahead? We don't come from money or anything like that. It's all graft, And I think we just got to that point where we just really scrutinise what could go wrong and where we're at. And, you know, you of all people, you'll see all those, you know, business quotes that, you know, if you never do it, you'll always look back and think, what if, and things like that. So we did it. And, we've just ticked over 3 years. So
if I could interrupt the podcast for one moment to say a big thank you to one of our sponsors, Tom Hardy from White Fox. Tom's a friend of mine, and I've also worked with him personally to sell one of my properties. Tom is an absolute legend, a great guy, and if you're in the market to buy or sell real estate in Christchurch, I'd recommend getting in touch. Thanks, Tom. Have you got to the point where, I wouldn't say it's comfortable because I don't think business is ever comfortable, but have you got to the point where you're somewhat on a trajectory and you can see the future, there's a level of comfort? Would that be fair to say?
I think now, like we've grown, you know, obviously from me just in a home office, having subcontractors do the work that I knew and trusted, to having 8 of us now. So like the team in the office, you know, Steve and Taylor, like they know how to run the ship if I'm not there. So I think in regards to that side of things, I don't have to be there from 7 until 5, which is amazing because, you know, the big thing of the business is you're supposed to get a little bit of freedom and some money in your pocket. But I think the team that we've got in place, we're all like Haley and I are so grateful because they all have a heart for the business. We all sit at the same table. We don't have a hierarchy of I'm the boss, you do what I say sort of thing. And we're very, very supportive in who we have and selective as well, you know. So I wouldn't say comfortable. We're in an industry where nothing's given. We fight for our work every month. So there's no like Mike Greer gives us 20 houses a month or something. So there's no, you know, all your eggs in one basket. It's very residential, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith do their lawn. Thank you very much. Get a review. They might pass this on to someone else. And then if we've done the job right, we should never see them again, you know, unless they buy another house, you know, and which happens, which is really cool. But yeah, I think the comfort probably comes with more of the time on the tools. Like I don't have to install anymore. That was every Saturday when we were starting the business. The comfort's probably more flexibility. I think it's, you know, I get to go pick up my kids 2 days a week while Haley does the rest of it. You know, we get to go to the cross countries and, you know, help out at the school with the sausage sizzles or, you know, like things like that. And that is kind of that wealth that's coming. You know, we're still young, you know, we haven't got the biggest budget sort of thing, but those sorts of things are worth quite a lot as we're moving forward. So
was there a moment where you felt like you're onto something though? Like when you have reached a certain point where you're like, okay, this could be good. This could be working.
I think probably when we brought like Steve on in the office, who was the ops manager. I mean, I was running around, you know, growing the business, quoting the jobs, trying to reach out to people. You know, Haley was sending emails, you know, during the day to point and shoot. And that's what we have in quotations, point and shoot, you know, get me to where it's the most valuable, you know, so I can just hit these people and show the love and the passion and the benefits of this. So Haley would sort of do that in the background. But I think it's the team, you know, as the teams come in, you know, Steve sort of took over the operation side of thing and the scheduling and sort of the running of the jobs. And he's been an absolute asset to the business because it's freed me up. I think I look back now and I'm sure it's like everybody. It's like, it's mental at the beginning. Like you are doing everything. And I don't know how we still kept our cool, and I think it was more of that. This is it. This is just the norm. There's nothing else. You've got to get on with it. You know, you've got to go and see that person and quote. You've got to go and set the boys up to do that. You've got to go and send those emails and invoice at night. You know, there's been some long days and long nights where, you know, I've had to say goodnight to Haley and the kids, and I've stayed up half of the night to get quotes back to people because the next day I'm doing something else and it's going to prolong that next process. So. Yeah, there's the comfort is it sort of comes from the team that you implement, and you sort of be able to pass over the old saying of the spinning plates, you know, like you've got all these plates and you've got to be able to pass one over and hope they don't drop it sort of thing, and give them the tools they need to be able to keep the plate spinning, you know. Yeah. So that's what I'm learning at the moment, you know. Sales has kind of always been my thing and it's my business, and I don't think anyone's going to love it. I don't expect anyone to love it as much as I do, but it's hard to sort of just take that step back because we're in growth mode, you know. So it's scary, it's uncomfortable, but you have to do it. Otherwise, it's just me and Haley, you know.
Totally. So. Yeah. Just as you were talking about the difficulty in doing those hard things and those things that you got to do, I was talking to a guy recently about that and just how those are kind of the defining moments, though, right? Like when you have to go through it and persevere and complete tasks that maybe you don't want to do, but it's quite a different outcome. I think that's like what the good leads from the bad,
definitely,
or the outcome leads from the difficulty.
Yeah.
And if you're not pushing and if you're not doing those things, then you tend to be flatlining somewhat.
And there's a few things, like I always say to Haley, like I always go, you know, we're going to look back in 3 years and we're going to go, man, we did that tough with, you know, 2 kids under 5 and, you know, wanting another one and growing the business and staff and supporting and, you know, trying to be there with friends and stuff as well. And it's like, we're going to look back and hopefully, you know, not too many years now and go, wow, like how did we do that, you know? And I get that now when I look back at starting the business of running around quoting and showing up and getting the boys on site and signing off with clients and doing all of that. I look back now and I was like, how did I do all of that? But we weren't as industrial and as big as we are now, you know? So it was, you know, just a few jobs, you know, a week sort of thing. So yeah, everything's in relation, I think. You know, you bring the team on, but obviously it's an overhead and you demand more revenue and more jobs to be done to make it all worth it, you know? So yeah, I think, but yeah, looking back, you just have those moments of like, wow. And one moment I distinctively remember is we did a little bit of like business coaching at the beginning and I was like, man, like, I don't have time for this. Like, you know, I'm so busy and this is costing me money. And like, who is this guy? Like, does he believe in me? Like, you know, and we sort of pushed through that. And it was like, wasn't until it was the process of, okay, David's got your quote. He hits accept. What do you do? And I was going, right, I allocate turf. I send the deposit. I schedule the boys sort of thing. And he went, hold on. David's just chosen you over 5 or 6 other people. What should you be doing? And I was like, oh my God, I've just missed that phone call, haven't I? You know, of that, thanks for choosing us. Like, that's awesome. We're so happy to, you know, be able to do this for you and we won't let you down. And that was just one of those light bulb moments that I talked to everyone about, that I was like, sometimes you can have that tunnel vision in family, in life, in schooling or anything. You can have that tunnel vision on having that goal, which is so important, but you miss those really important things just on the outside of the brackets, don't you? So for me, that was a really big change in the way I looked at the business and how we were portrayed to other people as well. Like, I like to say we're the good guys in the industry, you know, like we're family owned and we want to solve the problems. We don't need to make all the margin on the job, because if we nail the job and we give you an area where you can put the tramp on and you don't have to mow it underneath, you're going to be like, that's awesome. And then your mate's going to come around and go, man, I'm sick of mowing under that tramp. And then all of a sudden we're at, you know, their mate's house or something like that. So yeah, we just try and be the good buggers around town, and just deliver what we say.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. That value of the third party perspective, right? So interesting. I don't know if you've heard that concept of the jam jar and how like you can't read the label of the jam jar from within the jam jar.
True.
Right? Yeah, and it's sort of like that, right?
Yeah,
you're in your own world, you're doing your thing, but you know, the value of that outside perspective. And I think structured conversation as well, whether it's this or, you know, coaching or a chat with a friend that's designed to hopefully create or solve a problem or just work through a problem.
Well, that was one thing for me. Like, I always knew that I had the people thing, you know, like I knew I could always sell or, you know, not persuade, but I could explain the benefits of this, because there are 50% of the people that go, no, we're Kiwis, we're having a natural lawn, we love mowing lawns. And I get that. Like, I've had beautiful striped up lawns with real mowers and people coming past and feeling, oh my God, is this real? Like, I've had those lawns. But man, so much time, so much money and effort and time away from the kids. Everyone loves mowing their lawns when the lawns look good. But when things go wrong and you've got insects or fungicides or anything like that, fungus, and they look horrible and they need attention straight away, or they get way worse. So yeah, like I think that's the hardest thing I think for me as well, is that like when I'm selling, I guess it's a benefit as well, as I've come from that natural turf industry, I'm selling my product, I'm the salesman, but I've actually lived through both sides of it as well. So it's like, when people that are hard nosed, I go, I get it. It's not for everyone. Mum's a prime example, you know. she would never have an artificial lawn. But, you know, we've got so many little grandkids and stuff floating around on little battery cars and stuff, and the poor lawns and the dog patches from them going to the toilet. So we've just done her house, you know, and she's like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, right.
And from all the home shows and everything that we've done, like we have people that come through the home shows from 2 years ago or whatever, they stand on the stand and they were like, it was genuinely the best decision we've ever made. We will never go back to a natural lawn.
Wow.
And that's hand on heart. Like I can tell everyone on this podcast is that like everyone that's done it would never go back to a natural lawn, which I think is just so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's really, it's a proud moment, you know. We've delivered something, we've said it's going to do what it's going to do, and they're seeing the benefits.
That's awesome.
That makes it cool.
Are any, like, do you do many new builds? Like people that are not replacing an existing lawn?
Yep. And that's one thing that, like, you know, when we were doing the strategic plan of the business and Haley and me and who's going to spend the money on these products and stuff, we always thought it was going to be that older sort of clientele, you know, might be a little bit more lock and leave, or, you know, getting a little bit like an elderly that weren't capable of doing these things. And we get a little bit of that. But nowadays it's the new homeowners that have gone, we don't want a lawn at all. So once that house has been built, you know, the landscapers or us or whatever are in there site scraping, and then we're in there backfilling and putting in an artificial lawn. So it's like, it's actually come all the way down to the 30-year-olds or whatever that are building their first home to do it once, because then it's done. And it's hard because, like I said, I'm the salesman, but I've lived it as well, that, you know, if you try and compare like an artificial lawn installation versus a soil and rollout lawn or a hydroseed or something like that, it's not even like comparable, because we're probably 4 times the price or 3 times the price.
Right.
But we have so many scenarios, it's not funny, where they've gone and done that and put a natural lawn in, they've got a dog, and then the next year we're digging it all out. So it's more expensive, but it's just the tail end of a build, you know. The first thing that gets cut is the landscape, and that's just our industry, you know. So it's hard to sort of shake someone and go, don't do that, because, you know, next year you'll have to spend 5,000 more, you know. But you just got to talk to people about it and be honest and upfront, and some will go, hey, look, it's just a budget thing, and that's totally fine, you know. We'll always bend the rules as much as we can to get it to an achievable price, because like I said, we'd much rather solve the problem and be the good guys and get a referral or something like that, than just go, no, we need this much money out of that job or we're not doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So there's lots of jobs where we've done in certain situations where we've, you know, broken even or made, you know, not that much out of it, but the satisfaction or that client or whatever it is has led on to a snake of probably 5 other clients, you know. So
that's cool. And
that's where Haley comes in, you know, because I'm the bean counter. I'm so, you know, methodical, and, you know, this is the numbers and stuff. But, you know, the saying I say to everyone is, everyone in Christchurch would have a free artificial lawn if Haley was in charge, you know.
Right.
We'd be out of business, but everyone would have a beautiful lawn. So so it's quite funny, but that's just her empathetic, you know. We've done some free giveaways for home-based care, who was going through, like, you know, stage 3 chemo and stuff, and she was doing her chemo through the night, so she was still available in the morning to look after the kids and stuff like that, like just a real hero.
All right.
And yeah, we've run another couple of competitions with a couple of things, so we've done some pretty cool projects in the background for being a small business that, you know, wants to sort of give back a little bit, you know, and that'll come with time when we're a little bit more financially comfortable. We can do more cool things like that. And it will, you know, Haley will be in charge, and she'll have, you know, half a dozen of these ideas, and be
able to implement them. That's sort of how we know each other, right? How we've met is through the connection with filling holes. And I really enjoyed being involved in that project, like having Lucas on the podcast and then making the decision to, you know, contribute in a small way to what they're doing. I just think that's incredibly satisfying. You know, to encourage entrepreneurialism and people turning literally nothing into something. That's awesome to me.
It is. It is really cool, and it's I'm sort of finding it now with I think just because I've been in the landscape industry for, you know, over 18 years, and there's lots of you know, call them boys or labourers that have like learned all the skills, and now they've got themselves to really high end landscapers that have, you know, gone out on their own and stuff. And there's this really cool shift in the market of like, there's lots of like, I'd still call us small, you know, little guys that have started their own little empire that are really challenging these big guys, these real high end guys. And it's they're doing just as good, if not better work than some of these big guys. So it's like the old boys clubs almost being sort of semi-pushed out or into the big commercial stuff, and this really nice residential range of landscapers that are coming through that are doing this awesome work that, you know, the phrase I always say if I'm talking with a client is like, these are the guys I'd put at mum's house or my house, you know, like just really genuine, clever people, boys and girls, you know.
It's cool,
So
right?
it's cool. And that's, I'm in a cool position as well where, like, you know, I'm still learning and I'm still doing bits and pieces, but they're coming to me for like advice or, hey, let's catch up for a beer, or, hey, what do you use to quote, or what are you doing this for, sort of thing. And I really like that. And it kind of leads into like how you're ending up doing your thing, you know. So it's quite interesting.
100%. Yeah. Do you reckon that there's a new wave of entrepreneurs? Like, do you feel that what's happened, this is my theory and it could be totally out to lunch, but I think, at least this is the theory, is that there's so much access to content now, whether it's, you know, podcasts or premium paid content or YouTube, or, you know, so many people that are putting out incredibly valuable content, you know, for free or low cost. And so they've grown up consuming it. Yeah. And it's not like you need to go to the library or, you know, get the tapes out and, you know, like it's just more accessible. And so that's my theory anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me. I definitely agree with that. And I think that was one thing that we did really cool from the start, and head off to Hayley again with being in an industry that she was dragged into. Like I think probably now she'd probably lie, but she does have the love and passion for what we do, but she didn't at the beginning. It was me and you're along for the ride sort of thing. But she just kind of jumped on the social media thing, and, you know, she's just done it herself pretty much the whole way through with a little bit of help of some friends with, you know, some drones and stuff. But we were probably like one of the first, or we were the first sort of like landscapey business in Christchurch, if not New Zealand, that we're really putting out content like every week or every week, or, you know, a couple of times a week, really. And it was probably because I was on the tools, you know, I was there and I was like, this is wicked, you know, take a couple of little videos. And I felt really uncomfortable at the beginning because Hayley was like, hey, you need to do like a pan from the left and a pan to the right. She already had the plan in her head of what she was going to do, you know?
Right.
And here I am, like, standing there just feeling like this awkward, you know, hey, this is cool, you know, oh, sorry, we've got to stop working for a second so I can take a progress video and stuff. But I look back now and I was like, they were the things that people were like, oh, wow, this is how it's done. Or like, this is cool. Or, wow, there's heaps of work in this, you know?
Yes.
It is an expensive product, but the amount of labor and work that goes into it outweighs the costs like tenfold, you know. And our boys are so hardworking, you know. We're digging out by hand lawns that we can't get diggers in and stuff like that. So It's really, really hard work. You know, we're very fortunate, like I say, to have the team that we do and get to where we need to go.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. What's the next couple of years look like?
I think it changes. I think it changes for me. Like, I don't think I have this full, like, right, we want to be at 15 people and we want to be doing, you know, 60 jobs a month sort of thing. I'm quite happy to sort of be slow and controlled. Like, my family's the biggest thing. And these 3 years, I've lost a lot of that family time. Like, you know, hand on heart, it's pretty painful when you're sort of, you know, we've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old who started school, and it's like, that has gone so fast. And there is a sacrifice where I've had to be absent because I've had this even bigger grey cloud of fear of failure.
Yes.
So that on an emotional level is pretty hard for me to handle because, you know, family's number one. You know, if you said to me today or tomorrow, it's business or family, no, business is sold or closed straight away. Don't even have to think about it. But I think the next 2 years, I think we're in this really nice increasing graph of more people are coming to us. You know, some of the big landscapers were being specified on more stuff because they're looking at our products and they love them and they see their benefits. So hopefully in 2 years, there won't be such a drive on having to like find the work and, oh my goodness, where's that work coming from? Hopefully we'll have enough street cred, and what we're growing now, a little bit more will sort of come to us. Not that I expect it to be easy, but yeah, I just think, you know, now we've proven ourselves with some really big sports installations. You know, we just completed a massive one down in Hinds, like 2,400 square meters.
Yeah.
It's 3 tennis courts, 3 netball courts, and then a basketball court. All cut in lines, and, you know, like that was an amazing project. Like, that for me is a pinch yourself moment. So we might not ever get a job that big again, but we sold it. we were more expensive than everybody else. They could see the benefit in working with me and my team, and we delivered more than what we promised, and we ended the job with a $3,000 package worth of sports equipment and pickable things, and that's like me and Haley. That's my family gift back to the school, because they can buy their own stuff. But if we can deliver that awesome project and go, hey guys, here's this, and we organised a couple of the Canterbury Rams to come down for the kids to give away some hats, and we ordered some pizzas, Sal's Pizzas. So it was like a massive big like handover, and there was people from like Hines School from like 90 years ago, like,
Wow.
they had a couple of like old boys and stuff, and it was just such a cool project. Like, we dealt with some really cool board members, Mike and Carly, and they could just see the love and the passion and the detail. So I think like for the next 2 years, I would really like, for me, my role in the business, I would really like to see a couple more of those. It's a really hard industry because it's commercial, low margins, and it's all MOE and other bits and pieces. So there's no, I've chosen you because I want to work with you, So there's a little bit of in saying that, that's what happened at Hines, So I think that's the exciting thing of the sports play brand for us, that real educational sports putting greens side division of the company. So that's quite an exciting thing. So I think in 2 years that'll be established well enough to sort of go, hey, we're a player in this industry as well. Staff-wise, I think we could probably do with maybe like another 3 or 4 maybe, and that's all I think I'd really need to get to. We ship or freight our turf all across New Zealand, so I kind of went with rather than franchising ourselves out and trying to have people, believe in my beliefs and things like that, why don't we support, why don't we try and support such and such landscaping in Wellington or something like that? How do we help them and find someone who can be our regional partner, because we have this big funnel of inquiry that comes through all of New Zealand, and, we get some black spots of, oh, jeepers, we don't have someone there. We need someone there. But if we have someone that we know and trust like we do, then we just sort of refer that work to them, and we just have this nice partnership of, you guys get to grow your business. I'm proud of my business. I know you're proud of yours. So how can we support you with something that's new and exciting for people,
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that model.
Yeah. Financially, hey, look, it's probably better to do a franchise and plonk them all around the place. We might eventually get to that. I think maybe probably the furthest I'd ever go is we'd do one in the North Island, because there's obviously just a freighting issue of coming across. But I just really like that, working with people, and I think, hopefully people get that same thing from when they talk to me, is that, oh, he's just like one of us, He's not forcing it down our neck. Like, no. I'm confident and I'm proud of our products, but I would never bad talk or anybody else or, make that my sales technique. I just say, I'm going to put them in a box, I'm going to deliver them to you, and you call me when you open that box. I want to hear it first, and it's quite cool because we get some pretty cool clients that have got samples from everyone across New Zealand,
right?
And they put ours first, which is pretty cool.
Amazing.
It's a nice little win for us, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like the direction things are heading. I feel that along with the younger generation of entrepreneurs, I feel like there's also a shift toward that collaboration and partnership model. I feel like it's more normal now, whether it's partnerships or joint ventures or working in conjunction with people.
Definitely.
A lot more collaboration over competition now.
Definitely. Like, we have that because we're obviously a supplier, but we also install. So like sometimes it's like, oh no, like, Sam, the little landscaper around the corner, he's quoted that job, or like, is he quoting that job or something, like, because my biggest fear is that, hey, look, we're the supplier and the installer, and we've kicked out.
Right.
Someone else trying to feed their family. So we're just in that grey area of, hey, look, like, everyone's just got to do what they can. And there's no bad blood or anything like that, which I think is pretty cool. But we use a lot of the like little guys, the little guys in our network and stuff we support. If we get too busy or we need to really be focusing on like that big sports job. We had a really cool job that we'd actually lost to another company. And then he rang me up a couple of days after when he got home and saw our grass versus the others, or, a couple of other features. And he was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't want the others. I want you. And I was like, that's so cool. But we had to hit a time frame, and we're in the middle of this big sports court. And I was like, I can't jeopardize that. That's our first one. It has to be perfect, you know.
Totally.
And so we roped in, you know, a couple of our younger guys that are in our little network, and they absolutely smoked it in like 2 days. They had it all dug out, based up, and we just had to sneak away for 1 day to lay it. And this client was just like over the moon. He's like, how did you pull that off? And it's because of that collaboration.
Win-win.
Yeah, it is. And we look after those guys. We pay them well. They do great work. We get the final finishing, so we know that we own it. The boys know the standard of what things need to be done. And yeah, everyone just gets another one, and we pinch one back for the lifestyle team. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That gives me so much satisfaction, being able to work in conjunction with others and
Definitely,
you know, refer people. And even just before this, actually, someone messaged me. He's like, "Hey, do you know anyone, you know, in the community or the network, like a specific kind of trade?" And I'm like, yeah, I think I do know a couple, actually. Yeah, and it's something pretty niche, right?
Yeah.
So
it's cool to
really
be
cool.
that pivot point, isn't it?
100%.
Because I get that too. Like, hey, who did you use for this or whatever? Or, you know, we're landscaping where there's lots of different features, and like, you know, I'm probably biased, but landscapers get overlooked at how talented they are. You know, like those guys that can pour concrete and box things up, and, you know, plant plants the correct way, and, you know, all these aluminium fences and stuff that are right down to those final finishing details and stuff. Like, they are a master of so many trades.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and for us, you know, we don't quite have that skill set amongst certain things. So we've always roped in the guys that I know that are really good at that. We've got guys that build decks in their sleep, you know, and there's no point in me trying to build a deck and taking 3 times as long, costing more, and it would be crap.
Yeah.
You know, so it's this really cool collaboration of, like, we've got these people that are in there, we feed them work. But cool. it is a really nice feel, and that's what we sort of want to incorporate through, you know, our businesses. We want to have like a, you know, open everyone up and have a bit of a gathering every now and then, and just check how everyone's going, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you follow any of those US-based content creators on landscaping?
Yeah.
Have you seen a few of them?
Yeah.
Cool, right?
It's quite interesting because there is a big difference between like what we deliver and what they deliver, even turf types, you know, like their turfs are like 50, 60 mil long. So they're like soccer field turfs kind of thing. But yeah, it's really interesting to sort of see what others are doing. And that's how we got started, because I was following, I was doing some research on the infill that actually goes into the grass. So you lay the grass, and then normally a sand gets broomed in on top, sits down in the bottom and holds all the fibers up.
Yeah.
You don't track the sand anywhere because it just sits right at the base. But sand is obviously holds a lot of moisture. If it's a dog area, it holds a lot of other stuff that you don't really want hanging around.
Yeah.
And that's how we came across Envirofill out of America. And it's just a replacement for the sand. It's technically another sand coated in an acrylic with some really cool science built into it. And it actually reacts to the ammonia in dog urine and bacteria. So it's like this amazing product that the coating doesn't shake off. They warranty it for like 16 years or something.
Wow.
And over in America, they're using it on all these soccer fields and sports fields. And then they're actually being able to suck it out of the fields, put it in big 1-ton bags, roll up the artificial, go and recycle that, roll out the new turf when it's at its 10-year cycle or whatever, and then they use this infill back into it. So it's really quite innovative, and we're just starting to see that come through now in our 3rd year of probably having it for two and a bit years, just really starting to see the benefit of something else, you know. Huge amount of our work is for dogs. So right. Something like that, and that's one of the red flags is, does it get smelly?
Yes.
So if we've got something that can help in the way we've designed and changed our backings for drainage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff going on.
Yeah, right. What, without, you know, don't be specific, but what is it roughly for an average size lawn?
It's
just
one
ballpark.
It's one of those things that it completely varies on access and things like that. Like, I think a middle of the range kind of installation might be like 160 to 180 a square meter, and that would be like a full dig out of your lawn, a timber edging that we fix the grass to. Because there's a lot of people that don't actually do that part of the job, don't do a timber edge, just base it up and bang some nails around the outside.
Right.
That just doesn't sit well with me, because I'm like, what if a dog grabs that corner? What if someone comes over and goes, hey, that looks beautiful, and they pick it up, and it's like this carpet that's just sitting there that looks like it's just been laid out. So I'm a bit particular on the way we do things, but Yeah, it varies. You can get some really small jobs like townhouses where we have to go through the front door, through the lounge, dig out the back lawn, wheelbarrow it all out. So obviously those types of things, there's a lot more care, smaller areas, so your square metre rate kind of goes through the roof. But once it's done forever. You know, that installation will last 15 plus years. You won't need to do hardly anything to it, really minimal maintenance. A little bit more maintenance if there's dogs involved, but it's totally worth doing, you know, like when you put in the scheme of some of these townhouses and stuff nowadays, they haven't got a garden shed. They've laid out, you know, some roll-out lawn or something like that, and all of a sudden to mow it, you have to bring your lawnmower through the living room. You know, it's crazy, you know.
Does not make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Wasn't thought out.
And I think the council are coming around to it now because a lot more developers and stuff are actually seeing the benefit and speaking it on the plan from the beginning. Yeah. And as long as you hit all your ratios for your landscaping plan and stuff, there's no issues. Our products are recyclable, free draining. You know, they're actually better draining than like a natural lawn, you know. So, yeah, they've come a long, long way from bright green AstroTurf that if you're talking to anyone about artificial turf or synthetic, they'll always go Astro and they'll always think like hockey turf or Butcher's Table or Bunnings or Mitre 10 always comes up on, you know, sort of lower entry stuff, but it's so far from that now and it's cool to prove people wrong.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
I'll put a sample in a courier bag and just have a look, you know, like, and then it's like, oh, wow, okay, I get it. I get what you're talking about.
Yeah. Is Astro the brand, is it?
Well, Astro's probably like the old name. In fact, there probably is a brand for Astro, but that's technically what we used to call the hockey courts or the cricket wickets. It was made out of AstroTurf, you know. Yeah. It's kind of like a Band-Aid thing, I think, you know. We've got lots of brands of Band-Aids, but everyone calls it a Band-Aid, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just, it's developed to a point now where, and I think the coolest thing is that even at the early stages, you know, we might have done one job a month in artificial at previous company, and then, you know, 2 or 3 months would go past and you'd just do 1 or 2 little jobs and stuff. And then someone would see it and go, that's actually a good idea, you know, and maybe the product wasn't quite there, but the idea of the product, you know, the quality of the product wasn't there, but the idea and the benefit was. So that's the development that's happened over the last kind of 3 years, I think. So
it's cool.
It's quite cool. Yeah, you can definitely, you know, I wouldn't have made the jump in this if I didn't see a trend, you know, of like, that's not going to happen. But it was like every year it was like growing massively.
It's a growth industry.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I like having, you know, different business owners, different guests on the podcast because like it gives me the opportunity to learn, ask some questions that maybe other people are wondering, right?
Yeah.
Like I had a guy that does solar and it was just like a full-on like infomercial style episode. It was quite different, but it didn't mean to be like that.
No.
Right? But that's sort of the fun of it, right?
Definitely.
And I was just thinking then like artificial turf, you know, this is kind of random when you think about it.
Yeah.
I love the business side of it, but also like I really value saving time and efficiency and just spending time on things that you either enjoy or are high value. So this ties perfectly in.
It does, yeah. I mean, dogs, kids, schools, like we've done so many preschools now, and even one that our children started at, like at the beginning, they were developing it and building it, and we reached out and said, hey, our kids are going to come here. Like, would you like, you know, a quote on this kind of thing? And we always come across the, thank you very much, but no, we really want natural grass for our kids to play in and things like that. And I totally respect that. 3 months later, we were in there digging it all out. You know, because they, you know, especially now, they can't get out there. They're bringing all the mud inside and the headaches.
Man. Yeah,
so, and it's like if it rains in the morning, they're still out there at morning tea because they just get a little bit of water on the bottom of their shoe. Like, how cool is that? Like,
so good.
I've worked in childcare before and worked through holidays programs and having weeks of rain or, you know, 3 days of rain, and you're going crazy because there's only so much arts and crafts and stuff you can do.
That's it.
So to let the kids out and have a run out in the natural air and stuff, and even to coming here, you know, I couldn't find a park. So I found a park and I was getting a bit grumpy. I was like, oh, I can't find a park. Classic Christchurch town. And then I got out of the car and I started walking here. And I was like, this is beautiful. The sun's out today. It's a nice fresh morning. Like, I'm actually really lucky that I've had this walk around these 2 blocks and I feel good now. You know, like that was my little bit of exercise and that mentality of taking that negative and turning it into a positive, because don't let that alter your day, or I wasn't going to let it alter how I was going to be perceived today, because
100%.
That's such a small thing in a world of everything.
But it's easy to go down that path, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's easy to be a bit grumpy sometimes, and
Definitely
irrational.
can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. I think I'm getting better at it. Haley probably would disagree, but
she's not here to
she's not here.
say otherwise. So.
I can speak freely. No, she's really good, and she can, like that. Once again, touching on that empathetic. She knows when I'm off or something like that, and it'll be like, hey, like what's going on, and that's I think where for us, we've both been in the business. Now she sits beside me at a desk in our office. She's just as much in business as me. We drag it home, we talk about it at home and stuff, and we make those rules where we have to say, no more tonight. Sometimes, like, you need to, because it's the next morning that thing's happening or whatever. Yeah. And we both have that understanding, but I'm definitely guilty of bringing it all home and then laying it on Haley, and Haley just being like, hey, look, I've had enough today. I want Matt, my husband, back. So so I've had to make changes in how, and really simple things, but if you don't communicate about those things, the last thing I'd want her is being like, oh my God, like, Matt, stop talking about it, like, and just feeling really anti me, So she just said, she was like, look, we got to draw the line, It is our life. It is how we feed our children. So it is our life. But we also have a Matt and Haley life as well, We got to be there for each other as well. And that's a pretty humbling experience, like when, your wife sort of says, right, hey, we got to click this over and get back our Matt and Haley time, which we have.
I mean, front footing, that's the right thing to do though, isn't it? Rather than letting it fester. And
yeah,
I'm so big on this communication thing at the moment. And ensuring that loops are closed and that things aren't left unsaid,
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a work in progress, I think. I think we can always be better at communication.
Absolutely. I think I've come a long way. Haley would probably say you could be better. But I think, like I was saying before, like, when you're in the business and there's roles that, I need to take on the stresses for, there's no point in her having that extra stress of something's gone wrong or, we've got to make a decision here kind of thing. She's very good at being there as that extra voice as well, and I've learnt a lot from her to be able to actually go, that's not a bad idea. Where at the beginning I would have gone, yeah, okay, thanks, great, I'm still going to do it my way over here, because I've been doing it and you don't know anything, sort of thing.
Right.
So I've definitely learnt as the husband and as the owner of the business that, someone from the other side who's not looking at, the time on that site or the money that we're making, but the empathetic of how that's going to make that person feel or how that's going to look for us as a business as well. Like, we've helped those people. It's just like the most amazing thing. Like, I am so lucky. Like, I'm so lucky to have her and our children. Like, that's my biggest absolute champagne moment,
So cool.
And the business is it's just something that we're all working away at that will hopefully get us to a point where we can help others. I would love to be in a position where I can help some of these smaller landscapers and people going through everything I've been through and felt and done on my own and done with Haley or done with a little bit of support with others, because one or two of those light bulb moments, like I said before, just changes everything, I was talking to a mate the other day. He rang me up. He wants something done at his house. And I went, oh, man, it's winter. It's a bit quiet. And his first reaction was, no, Matt, stop it. No, I don't want to hear it. I know exactly where you're at. No, don't let it do anything. And I was just like, man, what a good friend.
Yeah,
what a good friend.
So good.
And like, he was actually a client. Like, he was a client from the beginning. He runs his own business, and like, he's just such a good friend. Like, we haven't caught up, like, or anything like that. We might have had a coffee a couple of months ago or something, but like, when you're in it and you've got a team of other people that are in it, like, everyone just gets it, and everyone goes through the same things. Businesses, if you write it down on a page, as it's the same thing. And the same things happen to most. So like that, I just thought that was the coolest conversation, because he just wanted a basketball court. He was ringing me because he wants me to do a basketball court for him. But it was just the coolest thing that I was feeling a bit blue, and I was like, like, it's winter and it's a bit slow, and we've burnt through a couple of weeks of work and we haven't put a couple of weeks and more on. And it was just he just shut me down completely.
No, I don't want to hear
this. Yeah. And I was like, that's so cool. And do you know what happened the next couple of days? We had like 2 or 3 weeks work come in. And I was like, that's what I'm learning as well. I've got to like mellow out. I've definitely been the stressor from the beginning. And it's that fear of failure again. I've got 2 of my own kids, but I've also got 7 staff, and they're all my family too. You know, I genuinely look at they're my family. You know, if anything went wrong with any of them in their life, they would come and stay with me. You know, so I just never want to be in a position where I let any of them down, and that's probably the biggest stress in the business for me is them. You know, everyone's on their own journey and their own family, and everyone's got everything going on. Like I said, we've been very understanding with certain situations of people going through some pretty horrible stuff. And then we get emails or they buy us a voucher to go out for dinner because we've been so supportive of them and like, hey, just go and sort that out. I know you're going to do an hour work at home tonight to make up for your time, but now's your time to go and sort that. Go and do it, you know?
Yeah, nice.
So I think that's what, sort of set us apart from some other people is that we are just super empathetic, and we're parents too. Like we've had some horrible sicknesses run through our children, and we're just lucky that we've owned our own business and we've been able to be there. Even me, I had a week off for the flu this year. I've never ever had the flu. Now I get it.
Yeah.
I get the flu. Like it was horrible. Like
it's quite different.
I get it. Yeah. It's amazing. Until you've had a proper flu, you'll never respect the flu.
100%.
You know?
Yeah. A lot of people misdiagnose.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had one. I think it was last year, and I was like, holy shit, this is not good at all. This is next level. Like, yeah.
I was 5 days on the couch. Like I had temps of like 40 degrees. Like I was like sweating through t-shirts and stuff. Like I was like, geez, do I need to call an ambulance? But you know, and the kids and Haley had all had it. And of course, I got it the worst, you know, the old man flu. So it was definitely a different strand or something. It was definitely way worse than everyone else. But
of course.
Yeah. But it's one of those humbling things that, like, there's so many things in life that are going on in everyone's life. Everyone's got so many variables. If I can just be a good boss and just be there to support and help, but, you know, ensure that these guys are still delivering what they're there for, then everybody wins, you know. I want them to come up with us. I don't want to be the boss that sits there, you know, with the Lamborghini or whatever like that, and everyone else is struggling to put food on their table, you know. Haley and I have always been like that, you know. We'll get, as long as the business is humming along and our family's looked after, everyone else's family will be looked after too.
Yeah,
I think that's,
I like it.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing, yeah.
That's a great mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how you can accidentally go down negative town though, right, with your story before, and you need to be snapped out of it.
Yeah. Always learning, like
always.
Like I said, and Steve's quite good because Steve was my first staff member that I brought on, and you know this was a high-end manager in the office, and oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Where are we finding this money to pay his wages and and he's come from a really high-end sort of landscaping industry where he was a bit of the salesperson. He knew the pressure and things like that. So when we're looking at the board going, geez, we've only got 2 months or anything, Steve was quite a humbling sort of head for me, being a little bit older as well, only a little bit. But just going, it'll come.
Yeah.
Like, don't panic, it'll come. Like I've been here before.
Yeah.
You know, do another follow-up on that person. Just be polite.
Totally.
So like he was quite good at the beginning to sort of get that mindset, and now I still look at the board, but now we have Taylor as our sales manager. So, you know, he's got the pressure of delivering these things along with me on some of the projects and things like that. But, you know, even like at the moment, probably last week we were a little bit sort of doom and gloomy about, you know, where's all this work coming from?
Mm. And
then, you know, we had a conversation yesterday. We've had about 4 or 5 big jobs coming that's like filled another whole month. So I said, I've learned to mellow out better. I'm probably not still where I need to be, but mellow out from being stressy McGee back to, you know, humble, hey, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I've always had that saying that it's you're always stressed.
Yeah.
It's you're stressed you haven't got enough work. You're stressed you got too much work on. How are we going to deliver that?
I know.
But I definitely know which side of that I would be on,
totally.
especially with our network and stuff, you know. So yeah, but it's always learning. Like I say, like 3 years now, you know, I talk to some other dads and stuff from school that are at 10 years and stuff, and like it's the same stuff. They've just got more people to help them with it.
It is. Yeah.
So I think it's you do have to be careful though that you don't let that just change things, because at the beginning I did, like I was bringing it home going, whoa, like, you know, and then poor Haley had to, you know, deal with me who wasn't 100% or, you know, pick up the pieces of, you know, being fun for the kids when I was a bit flat, you know.
Yeah.
So I think I'm definitely better at doing that now, but there's a lot of like personal stuff you have to go through, you know.
100%.
You know, like, and I'm quite humble. You know, I'm quite humble to be put in my place and know that I need to be better as well. So I think like, I'm still growing, everyone's still growing, the business is growing, but I think like we always joke about, that 1% better every day, you know?
Yeah.
If we just do one thing better a week, that's better than, the other week. Or,
that's a win.
Yeah, or you can turn that around. Like I was driving here, I was quite proud of myself because I was like, God damn, Parks, God, Christchurch is crap, like, and then I got to walk past some beautiful buildings in the sun, like I said. I was like, and then I was like, man, that was cool. I just managed to do that myself.
Yeah.
From the tools that I've learned.
Yes.
And I think it's just time. It's time on the tools and things going wrong and then figuring it out yourself.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think it's important, and I think of the Stoic mindset or the Stoic sort of value system, right? It's like never going too high or never going too low. It's just like, it just is.
Yeah.
Being a bit objective. And I think the other thing that comes to mind is the ability to compartmentalize certain things and not letting it bleed in to all areas of life, because it's really easy to let something absorb it, and some things will take every bit of oxygen you give it, right?
Yeah. Well, I come from a mum who's very write it down, pros and cons, and Haley hates it because when we've got these decisions, it's like, right, I'm going to write my list, pros, here we go. All right, we've got these pros, we've got these cons and stuff like that, and mum just drilled that into me from the beginning, as a kid, making these decisions, traveling overseas. Hey, what's the pros, what's the cons, or making any decisions, and I think it's quite a cool thing. But I'm definitely the problem solver, so everything needs some sort of strategy to be worked out straight away. And Haley always tells me, she's like, no, I don't want you to solve this problem. I just want you to listen to me, So I'm like, okay, I actually have to really work hard to turn that off. Because it's the dad, it's the family man, it's the provider, it's the man. I can sort this out. I know how to do this, but sometimes that's not the right way.
So common.
Leads into that mental health thing though as well. Like, I almost bailed on a beer yesterday afternoon with a young landscaper who's had to let a couple of people go and things like that. And I almost bailed on that beer. And then I came out of that and I was like, he really needed that, And there's a few other people that those little things go such a long way. Even for me, like I'll put my hand up. Like I've definitely been vulnerable in these last 3 years.
Yeah.
And I just think like, there's so much of that goes on of, just the dad that goes to the man or the mum, in that sense, where there's a lot of pressure of being there for the kids. Haley put a really sweet video up of me yesterday of like just from at one of the schools, but it was one of those sayings of like, his heart wants to be at home with the family, his head wants success, and his body wants rest, and it's like, I have this saying to Haley, and it's really horrible and it is really negative, but I go, every day I have to choose who I let down.
That's a good point.
As long as it's not that same person all the time, then I think you can mellow it out. But, there was some times that I had to let Haley down a lot because it was like, I need to do this. If we don't get this job, we don't do this. So I always have that in my head, and it's pretty horrible. Like it brings my eyes just, started glistening up there, but it's just a really brutal thing that is when you're so busy and you've got so much going on and you've got a family and you're trying to be the dad and you're trying to be the husband and you're trying to be the manager and the sales guy and everything that goes along with it. But, there are some people, whether it's a client that you don't get a quote back to and what you've said, and then all of a sudden you're on the back foot. So, but yeah, there is a lot of positives and stuff. But I think my biggest thing that I'm working on, I think, is checking in on all my, there's so much around it. A little beer for an hour max, to catch up with someone and just make sure they're all good, or just know that, hey man, I'm here anytime. Yeah. Anytime. Totally. If you're feeling crap in the middle of the night, man, ring me. Ring me. I'll walk out of the room and we'll have a conversation. If I need to come see you, I'll come and see you,
So good.
Yeah. And I think that's my biggest goal is, I just want to be able to be available and maybe support a little bit more in that division we have such a big network of guys out on their own, and it's winter and it's quiet and that's really scary. So how can we support them or, just be there,
Yeah.
It's scary when you make that jump and you're the bread earner for the family and things aren't going the way you dreamed.
Yeah.
You can go down that negative path. So
100%.
if you don't have those tools as well to be able to jump back out.
Yeah. And it's not neatly organized all the time either, right? And I think
definitely not.
the difficulty, I think. Like the pendulum swings one way, and course correction can sometimes work, but yeah, you're right.
I really like those. A few years ago, I did one of those like personality tests.
Oh yeah,
and it was like a paid one, but I'm pretty sure you can get some pretty good like free ones online and stuff. And I've been meaning to do it with my staff because I'd love to see how it comes out. But I remember I was in this sort of business group, and you do your personality test, and then it gets printed like on a card that sits on your desk. And so mine was like very, I want to say like the color was yellow or something like that. So like my thing was like I wanted everything like 100% before it went out,
Right.
And it was like over here I was really small and red, which was like make a decision, go,
Right.
or hot tempered or quick to fire someone or something like that sort of thing. And it's really interesting because you're looking around this table and you get asked this question of such and such, and like my answer would be so aligned to sort of maybe the empathetic or the reserved. Or I think you should get that website or that banner or that poster or that marketing 100% before it goes out. And I just remember having this conversation of like the business coach at the time, and I was like, Matt, like get the website done and get it up, and anything that goes wrong, fix it. But get it up because you're missing all these people that are looking for it now or whatever.
Totally.
And I was just like, that was, one of those moments where I was like, oh man, like that's my personality. So it'd be quite interesting to find what that was. It's probably like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
What it is now. And it would be so cool to like put them beside each other because I bet it would be so different. Yeah, so
that would be interesting.
It'd be pretty interesting. But yeah, I just think it's quite a cool thing to actually just see how your mind works. And you got to go in and you got to be so honest when you go in because you can almost start preempting the answers or something like that. And hey, look, no, I want to probably show a little bit more empathy. Maybe I'll look after the person here rather than the money or whatever. But that was probably something I might implement. Starting next month or something. Hey, everyone needs to do this. I think that's quite cool.
Yeah, I was talking about it yesterday actually with someone. The specific one I was talking about was the disc profile, which it's just one of many, right? But for $30 or $40, it's probably money well spent.
That's it. I think. Yeah. And I think the only other one, I can't remember his name. I want to say Simon something or other. I think he was the founder of Culture Kings or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I follow him a couple of things, but I think he did like a free one or something like that. But it was just as detailed and stuff. But yeah, I think it's quite cool when you learn those things.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, just before we wrap up, do you have any specific quotes, favorite books, specific things that have helped you in a meaningful way?
To be honest, I'm not a big reader. Like I've never really been into it. I've tried a couple of times, and I don't know if it's an intention thing or podcasts are great, but I'm so like drive here and then listen to a bit on the way, and then get absorbed into I need to remember that or do whatever. Yeah. So podcasts are quite cool. I don't think I've got a specific quote. I think just the way we're sort of holding ourselves and with Haley and me is that like we've invested everything into this. I just think it's so cool now, and it came from that was a bit of a light bulb moment for me as well. Keep saying light bulb moment, but when we had a coffee, that's probably the first time I'd really sat down and worked through explaining it from the beginning. Like we went through some pretty scary stuff at the beginning of investing everything. And having, some people say, yeah, we'll buy that when it comes in sort of thing. And then all of a sudden they said, no, we're not buying that stuff. So we went from like, oh my God, we've just invested everything into this business and this container of grass. And now what do we do? We're starting from nothing. And that was probably our first big challenge. And I'm just really proud of us because we took that, and that was horrible. We were like, oh my God, like, we haven't even got started and we're already falling over,
Yeah.
And Haley and I just looked at each other and we just were sitting on the couch and we just, I don't know who sort of said it, but we just said, we'll do it ourselves. We don't need anybody. Let's do it ourselves.
Make it work.
Yeah, make it work. And I think that was obviously, you have to do that, So I don't think I've probably got a quote, but I think I've probably just got a persona or a mentality of this has been really scary for our family. To invest this. We haven't had financial backing or anything. Everything that we've done is with our own money. Only like at year 3 we've started using the banks, So every dollar has been calculated, and I just think the way we've handled things from the beginning to how we still handle things now, we're just growing in size. But I think, that's a really cool thing that now we get to put forward out what we are through these new staff members and through these new clients and everyone that sort of interacts with a Lifestyle Lawns member should be very similar to each other, because we're all aligned, so I'm pretty proud of what we've grown and where we're at, and I'm looking forward to where we're at in maybe another 2 years. When we hit that 5-year mark, I think that'll be a pretty cool milestone for us to look back and see where we're at. And we need a bigger warehouse, and we need more guys, and we need more gear and all of this stuff. So there's lots going on. So growth mode is scary. Sitting back and letting the others do it, spending money and making those calculated risks and taking those big overheads and simplifying, streamlining work and stuff like that. So I think in general, I'm just really proud of where we're at and who we are.
Love it. So good. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for being
awesome.
here.
No worries. This is amazing.